Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Bad Batch video. With the big cameos that we've had so far and in light of Lucasfilm preparing big reveals down the line, let's talk about the survivors of Order 66. In this video we're going to be looking at every single known canon Jedi who is still out there in the galaxy. We're also going to explore the question of whether a big Jedi cameo is coming up in the series, not necessarily in the next few episodes, but maybe in the finale or even in season 2. Now with all of the Jedi that I'm going to talk about, I'm not saying that any specific one is going to appear. I'm just addressing the ones who are still out there and we'll look at tie-ins later on. So without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. Now we're going to get the most obvious Jedi out of the way first, who have absolutely nothing to do with the Bad Batch. We begin with Obi-Wan Kenobi, who has exiled himself on Tatooine following his duel with Vader on Mustafar. He will most likely remain there until the events of the original trilogy, but next year the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is going to explore his journey a decade after the events of Revenge of the Sith. Master Yoda has also exiled himself after losing to Sidious, and he dwells on the swampy world of Dagobah until his death. Next up, we have Grogu. Everyone's favourite little member of the Yoda species was hidden at the end of the Clone Wars, at least according to what Ahsoka said in The Mandalorian Season 2. Speaking of which, our next survivor is Ahsoka Tano, and I know there are going to be legions of fans in the comments saying that she's not a Jedi, which is true, but she still counts for this list. According to the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston, the Togruta, former Jedi, initially travelled to the Outer Rim, where she believed that she could hide safely from the Empire's agents. Unfortunately, Ahsoka quickly realised that she couldn't simply keep her head down, because the Empire's evil was all-pervasive, and as a Force sensitive, she was in danger. In the 15 or so years following the end of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka constructed 2 white lightsabers for herself, symbolising her neutrality in the Force. She would eventually join forces with Bail Organa and become part of the fledgling rebellion, adopting the title of Fulcrum. It's currently rumoured that Ahsoka is going to be making a cameo in the Andor series. Next up, we have another obvious candidate based on what we know from the Bad Batch premiere and of course Star Wars Rebels. Caleb Dume, who was later known as Kanan Jarrus. As seen in the opening sequence of the episode Aftermath, Caleb escaped Order 66 after seeing his master Depa Billaba shot by Commander Grey and his troops. Crosshair pursued the young Jedi, but Caleb got away in time. It's unknown if Caleb Dume is going to appear again in Star Wars The Bad Batch, but the comics have already revealed what happens to him next before Star Wars Rebels. After he saw the clones kill Depa Billaba, the young Padawan travelled to Plateau City in an effort to run. Our next survivor is none other than Jocasta Nu. During the early stages of the Jedi Purge, she attempted to gather and preserve whatever she could of the Jedi Order's legacy. Jocasta went into hiding and started recording holocrons and collecting information with her assistant Gar. This was an attempt to start a school for the new Jedi Order. Jocasta Nu was included in a list of potential survivors which Darth Sidious gave to the Grand Inquisitor. He was shocked to find out that she survived, as he had not seen her fight once in her life. The Inquisitorius was instructed to find Nu, although Darth Sidious requested Darth Vader to bring her in alive. In issue 10 of Dark Lord of the Sith, Jocasta Nu met her fate at the hands of Vader's lightsaber, moments after learning that Vader was once Anakin Skywalker. Next up, my friends, we have Kirak in Filler. He was a Jedi Master during the final years of the Galactic Republic. Infilla specialised in combat during his time as an active member of the Order, and at some point, he chose to take the Barash vow, which forbade him in interacting with the Jedi Order as a form of penance. Because he was not an active member of the Jedi Order during the events of Order 66, Infilla escaped execution. Sometime later, he would face Darth Vader wielding a green lightsaber. Next up, we have Coleman Kaj. During the reign of the Galactic Empire, the Ongri Jedi Master was among the few to survive the Jedi Purge. Although he was once assumed to have been killed, Kaj's name was later included on a holographic list compiled by the Inquisitors. He had hidden from the Empire extremely well. Our next survivor is Jedi Master Yaddle. The Yoda species member who we first saw in The Phantom Menace is something of a mystery, at least in terms of canon. Born in 509 BBY, she mysteriously left the Jedi Order prior to the events of Attack of the Clones. In Legends, she did die. She sacrificed her life in 26 BBY on a mission to Mauan. Along with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, they were sent to Mauan to attempt to restore peace to the lawless world. Jedi Master Yaddle used the Force to absorb a deadly chemical mechanical weapon unleashed by Granta Omega. She was then given a traditional Jedi funeral back at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and was succeeded by Shaak Ti on the High Council. The only problem is that story is Legends and not canon, so in the current canon timeline, Yaddle was never killed. And considering she was much younger than Yoda, she still has a few decades of her life left. The only thing that comes close to a definitive Yaddle death is a vision that Darth Vader had. Following the events of Order 66, Darth Vader had a vision where he slaughtered the remaining Jedi. Among them, but the last one to fall, was Jedi Master Yaddle, but all of that was only a vision. So I truly hope that Lucasfilm pick up her story where she left off, and we finally get to find out what happened to her after the Jedi Purge. There is a lot of fan speculation that during Order 66, Yaddle escaped to the homeworld of the Yoda species, and who knows, she might have been the one who rescued Grogu. Our next Jedi who managed to escape Order 66 is Yaddle's Padawan, Oppo Rancisis. Oppo Rancisis was a Jedi Master who served the Council in the prequel era. It's worth mentioning that he was also present during the High Republic era. The Thissipation is believed to be one of the wisest Jedi who ever lived. Despite his comical outward appearance, he was devoted to the Force, and in his own words, he was enamored with the way that the Force ran through every fibre of his being. Born on the rocky world of Thisipius, he was a royal and the heir to the Thisipian blood monarchy. Despite his heritage, he joined the Jedi Order at a young age and became the Padawan of Jedi Master Yaddle. In his youth, he was offered the throne of the Blood Monarch, but declined and chose a life of servitude to the Force. By the year 232 BBY, he had become a full member of the Jedi Council. Master Rancisis was present at some of the most key moments of the Clone Wars. The mission to Hisrich, the reinvestigation of Sifo Dyas, the meeting before the Utapau crisis, and the siege of Seleucami. But here is where things get really interesting. Contrary to what many assume, Oppo Rancisis survived Order 66. Rancisis, one of the few council members left, survived the Great Jedi Purge and then went into hiding. After the hunt for Eeth Koth, Rancisis was on a list of known survivors of the Purge, compiled by the Jedi Hunters, known as the Inquisitors. Oppo Rancisis was never found, but it begs the question of whether or not we're going to see his story after Order 66 explored. In a big way, the Bad Batch would be the perfect opportunity, but who knows, he might even be alive during the Andor series or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Next up, my dear friends, we have Cal Kestis, the protagonist of Jedi Fallen Order. He was the apprentice of Jaro Tapal, and we've already had a callback to Kestis in the Bad Batch, and that was when we visited the planet of Bracca. It's led a lot of fans to think that we might actually see a young Cal Kestis at some point in the series. Our next Jedi is Taron Malicos, another character featured in Fallen Order. In 19 BBY, when Order 66 was initiated, Malicos was betrayed and attacked by his clone troopers, but managed to escape. Malicos crash-landed on Dathomir, where he succumbed to the dark side of the Force. His presence was noted by the Knight brothers, and they brought him before Viscus, the leader of the clan. Malicos then killed him, which proved his strength to the other Knight brothers and gained him substantial influence over the clan. He ruled over them with fear, which resulted in the Knight brothers worshipping him due to his power in the Force, and in 14 BBY, he would eventually meet Cal Kestis. Next up, we have Luminara Unduli. As we saw in Revenge of the Sith, she fought in the Outer Rim sieges and served alongside Yoda and the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. In the midst of the battle, Order 66 was initiated. Luminara Unduli evaded the fate of many of her fellow Jedi, although for years it was believed that she had been shot down by her troops on Kashyyyk. In actuality, Unduli had been taken into custody by the Empire, and as we see later on in Star Wars Rebels, after a short time in the prison known as the Spire, she was executed in her cell in the presence of the Grand Inquisitor, who then held her remains for the future purposes of the Empire. Our next survivor is Quinlan Vos. This is a Jedi that the Clone Wars fans have wanted to see return for years. Following the events of Order 66, Quinlan Vos was a priority target for the Empire. Vos was listed by the Inquisitors as a potential survivor of the Purge. For many years, we didn't know for certain if Quinlan Vos had survived, but the secrets of the Jedi confirm his presumed survival. In my opinion, this would be a character to bring back in the Bad Batch, or maybe even the Kenobi series. Our next survivor is very significant. Eeth Koth. First seen in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the Zabrak Jedi Master served as a member of the High Council when Anakin was brought forward to be tested for his Force abilities. Later on, near the end of the Clone Wars, Eeth Koth was forced to step down from the Jedi Council and decided to leave the Order. Master Eeth Koth was replaced by Jedi Master Ajan Kolar. During Order 66, Eeth Koth was forced into exile. By 14 BBY, Eeth Koth had no more allegiance to the Order, instead becoming a priest of the Church of the Ganthic Sith Enlightenment. He would later be killed by Darth Vader. So now, my dear friends, we're going to look at honourable mentions. In other words, the other remaining survivors. We have Zubain and Kanori, Salrak Eluos, Serajunda, Ferenbar, Kandra, Mizuziel, Masanatide, Nuj, Kira Vantala, Jedi Master Uvel, the fifth brother, the seventh sister, Trilla Sajuri. If we're being technical, we also have the younglings who are scattered across the galaxy. Aside from the known ones like Grogu, there were many others. For example, the Rodian youngling from Jedi Fallen Order. Also notes that I haven't included Barriss Offee, because in my mind she doesn't really count as a Jedi survivor. After the Clone Wars, her story still needs to be told. Did she turn fully to the dark side, and what is her true fate? Personally, I think the Ahsoka series is going to explain this one. So I guess the big question of the day is, are we going to see any of these survivors in the Bad Batch, or maybe even in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Honestly, and I've said this before, I think any Jedi cameo is going to be safe for the finale, or maybe even season 2. I think we have way too much going on right now in the series to be talking about big cameos. There's so many questions we need answers to with the Empire, the Kaminoans, and of course how Omega fits into the Star Wars universe as a whole. But what do you guys think? I want to know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. If we do get a big cameo of a Jedi survivor, who do you want it to be? If you guys enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new and a huge welcome if you are, and also be sure to hit that notification bell so that you're updated every time I post new videos. You can expect daily Star Wars updates from me. Also, my dear friends, if you're feeling generous, please consider heading over to Patreon, where you get exclusive access to content that's not found here on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you all a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.